Who else isn't buying this? Who else is sitting at home looking at the news, watching the First Lady of the United States stand before a podium asking for someone to help the victims of Jeffrey Epstein? Who else is sitting at home thinking to themselves that the special White House envoy who opened up a modeling agency of underage immigrant girls on special visas brought to the United States and had a modeling agency that Trump was part of, and is also the man that connected Melania Trump to Donald Trump. It's just too much. I'm talking about Zampolli, the special White House envoy. I, I'm sitting here listening to the First Lady of the United States. And the first thing I was thinking of was this woman is intelligent. That's what we're told. So, why hasn't there been a linguistics coach given to her? They've been involved in politics for the past 15 years. Why has there not been an English as a second language coach provided to the First Lady of the United States? When I watched her read to 5 and 6 year olds at Easter, I flinched. As someone that worked with small children, her lack of enthusiasm, her lack of pronunciation, her lack of personality while she was reading was hard to stomach. I was bored, and I have trained myself to sit for long periods of time. I cannot imagine that this has been overlooked accidentally. Welcome back, friends and family and fellow watchers on the wall. Welcome back to Starkey Farmstead. My name is Amanda. I am just an average woman living in America, and I am shocked at what is happening in front of me as I am looking at the players in this game and realizing that there is no penalty box. Nobody has been removed from the game. Nobody has been ousted. Let me tell you what I'm thinking. I'm hearing because Donald Trump said he did not. He was unaware that Melania was going to make her press release, okay? How many of you think that is likely? How many of you think that it is likely that when the stylist showed up with the outfit picked up, hair and makeup getting done, an entire area cleared out, reporters brought in, podium set up, speech written, that Trump had no clue what his wife was doing? I mean, what kind of marriage is that? I'm being very honest. If my husband was fixing to make a press release about something as big as the Epstein files, I'm pretty darn sure I would know about it. I'm going to show you some things that are going to help you navigate through what you're seeing. I am fixing to show you why they can lie to you. I'm going to explain all of that to you. Please don't go anywhere. Please make sure to pick up your book, Growing Under a Poisoned Sky. Folks, they're dimming the sun. They've taken it up a notch. You need to know what's happening. Growing Under a Poisoned Sky. I wrote this book for you. Okay. You can pick it up anywhere. I'll link it. It's got a pretty little sunflower on the front of it. I'm going to show you why it is okay for this White House, just this one, because this is who we're talking about, why they can lie to you and they're not at all concerned. There's something called a mitzvah. It is a precept or a commandment in Judaism. So a lot of Christians right now think that our religion comes from Judaism because they believe Jesus was a Jew. But if you've watched me for any period of time, I've debunked that for you. They also believe that our Bible stems from the religion of Judaism and that they and us are very much alike, except for one thing. We accepted Jesus and they denied him, right? That's the only difference, right? Because that's what your pastor told you, correct? Well, not so much. There's something in the religion of Judaism called a mitzvah. It is a precept or a commandment. All right. You can find about 300 mitzvahs or commandments in the first 5 books of the Old Testament, which they call the written Torah. All right. We understand that. So let me show you something. When is lying a mitzvah? Truth telling in Jewish law. All right, friends and family. I know that my Bible, my Christian Bible in the Old Testament and the New Testament says, thou shalt not lie. Thou shalt not bear false witness. Thou shalt not gossip. I know that that's what my God says, okay? Well, Judaism does not teach that. Judaism values truth deeply, but recognizes competing values. Peace, dignity, saving life sometimes outweighs absolute honesty. God sets the precedent for permissible lying. White lies for peace are explicitly permitted. The Talmud teaches that you may alter facts to maintain harmony between people. So you can lie if it keeps everything peaceful. If you don't want to argue with your wife because you cheated on her with your best friend, you don't have to tell her. As long as you're trying to keep peace, you don't have to tell her. Some lies are required. Some lies are required. Some lies are required, not just allowed. Lying to save a life or prevent severe harm is obligatory under Jewish law. So you know that a certain person committed murder and they're fixing to be put to death row, to death. They're up for death penalty. And you get called to the stand and you take an oath to speak truth. You are required to lie if you are Jewish or practice Judaism. It says it right there. Everything that I show you, I will link it underneath the title of this video so you can go research this further. Context determines morality. The same lie can be ethical in one situation and prohibited in another. Half truths are preferable to outright lies. 3 categories are always off limits: never lie in court, to children, or as a habit. They say that, but they just told you that lying is required by law. So we'll just throw those 3 out. When Jewish law permits lying, given this strong foundation in valuing truth, the permission to lie in certain circumstances becomes all the more striking. The key Talmudic principle appears in Tractate Yevamot 65b. It is permitted to alter the truth for the sake of peace. And here's their example. Aaron the high priest was famous for making peace between feuding parties using strategic lies. He would tell each person separately that the other was sorry and wanted to reconcile. Neither statement was true initially, but hearing it made each person genuinely want to make peace. Thus, Aaron's lies created the reality they described. The Talmud records a fascinating debate between 2 major rabbinical schools about praising brides. The question: what do you say about a bride who isn't particularly attractive? Wow. The 5 categories of permitted lying: for the sake of peace, to spare embarrassment, to save a life, for modesty and humility, to fulfill another mitzvah, to fulfill another religious obligation. That's how twisted this religion is. You can lie as long as you can get another commandment under your belt. It's all about the law. I have never, and I mean this, I have never seen a group of people work so hard to bend the commandments of God rather than just obey them. Married women cannot expose their hair. That's part of their religion. So rather than just simply putting a scarf on their head, they put a wig that looks identical to their actual hair on their head. You know what the New Testament says? Or actually, the Bible says obedience is better than sacrifice. Look what it says: to deepen your practice, learn. They're encouraging this. Learn to use half truths and omissions rather than outright lies. For serious exploration on learning how to lie properly, study the actual Talmudic and rabbinic sources on the topic. So it says here Jewish ethics refuse simplistic answers to complex questions. In other words, there's never right and wrong. Never. I got to show you something. Keep trying to explain to you guys that Donald Trump's family, his heritage is Jewish. It's been scrubbed. A lot of us understand that Obama bought what? Guillotines, right? A lot of them. Transported them all over the United States. There used to be pictures of that, trains with them on there, because they don't look like the old ones. They're these weird looking ones. You almost can't find that anymore. They scrubbed it, okay? We all know that Ivanka Trump converted to Judaism in 2009, right? But before she married Jared Kushner, she was already studying with Orthodox teachers, had adopted a Hebrew name, and practiced Orthodox observance. Now, Jared Kushner, Donald Trump's son in law, is Jewish by birth. All of the grandchildren are being raised Jewish. Here's the thing, there are some fringe and genealogical pieces about Donald Trump's family origins. It is hard to find it. But if you will go listen to the rabbis in Israel, read the articles written in Jewish papers and newspapers, they are searching to find the connection to the lineage of David to formally say that Donald Trump is their Messiah ben David. Okay. So let me show you the people around Trump that are Jewish. It's a lot. It is a lot of them. It's been decades since a major party president had a harder case to make an American Jewish voters than Donald Trump. Trump has supported policies that sit uneasily with American Jews. That is a lie. And they say that he has an alarming tolerance for anti Semitic supporters. That is a lie, right? This man is surrounded by them. The Faith House, the White House faith advisor, is now studying with a rabbi, Paula White. So I want to show y'all what Trump tweeted out. He talked about Candace Owens and Megyn Kelly and Tucker Carlson, and he just whined and he cried, and Alex Jones, blah, blah, blah. We all know that most of those, the reason why he mentioned them is he wants conservatives to be listening to them. All four of them are connected in ways that an average person is not. Those four are not organic, guys. They didn't start a podcast in their kitchen. They didn't start doing their own research and putting it out to the world. All right. By the way, we are raising money every month now. We're asking everyone to send $1. Once we get a nice size, thousands of dollars together, we're going to start helping a couple of people every month on this channel. Too many Americans are hurting. Too many. I mean, I was telling you guys today, I need $14,000 to buy a special bed so my husband can actually sleep with me. Brain aneurysm, tumors in the bones and the spine, slip disc, pinched nerve in the neck. He has sleep apnea because he was kicked in the face by a horse and needs complete facial reconstruction. But we've already started surgeries and they had to stop for a while. So my thing is this, the bed that we need is a specialized bed. It splits. That way I can lay flat when he doesn't. If his sleep apnea kicks in because he can no longer wear the mask because of all the surgeries and the brain aneurysm, it'll gently shake him to make him breathe again. This $14,000. We don't have medical insurance. I'm not the only person in this boat. So I'm asking everybody to just set $1 aside every month, guys. Let's do this. Please help me help people. I'm so sad when I read comments. There's a lady that watches me. Her significant other died the other day. She's going to be homeless May 1st. He just died. I know someone else that's raising her kids and grandkids, and she's disabled, and they're all trying to live on this very insignificant Social Security, and she doesn't have money for her water bill today. That's the thing. I have money set aside for a bed. I'm $12,000 short. What good's it going to do me? 2,000's not getting the bed. Right? And that's how a lot of people feel. I mean, I have a $200 bill. I've got $50. It's not enough to pay the bill. But we all have a dollar. And if we all started working together, we could really, really help God's children. Because there's coming a time that's the only way we're going to survive. And yes, you've always got takers, people that just want, but they never give. And I'm just, the Holy Spirit will help us navigate that. We're not going to worry about that. We're going to make a difference. If you want to do that, look at the top of comments. But my point is this. Look what Trump wrote about the First Lady of France. He said, crazy Candace Owens, who accuses the highly respected First Lady of France of being a man, which she is not, and will hopefully win lots of money in the ongoing lawsuit. Actually, to me, the First Lady of France is a far more beautiful woman than Candace. A lot of people misunderstood me when I said what Candace Owens did with her lawsuit. She's gonna lose because the way she worded it. She didn't say allegedly. I mean, she basically said, I'm gonna bet my whole life on this, right? She could have got away with all of it, never had a lawsuit brought against her if she would have just used the words allegedly or the proof is this, but she didn't. What Trump just said right here, because I do have doubts about the First Lady of France, of all First Ladies, including Melania. So his God, Judaism, their God is Baometh. It's Baal. Go look at a picture of Baal, boobs and a penis. Okay, so I think that's like a huge clue. At least it is to me what he's admitting there. I need you to listen to this because I have told you guys, I am now believing that the Western that they did in the 1950s, saying that there was a con man named Trump, the wizard Trump, coming to build a wall in Texas, right? But he stole all the money. Then there was the 1900s, the last president. And now there's some other books pointing to Donald Trump coming out of nowhere to be president. I do think they can probably time travel, you guys, to some degree. But I also believe what's more likely is that the demons telling them what to write, the demons telling them what to do, they live and live and live. They're basically almost immortal. So the information just looks unbelievable to you and I who only get 70 years promised. And every day after that's a blessing, right? So listen to this. It's very interesting.
The weirdest book you've ever seen just keeps getting weirder. This guy, Dustin Goodroad, found a book while thrift shopping called King of the Jews, written by a Leslie Epstein in 1979, who looks like that. Totally not exactly like someone else of the same last name. And the strangest part is that the original video is glitching for everyone in the exact same spot. It buffers at the same timestamp for all viewers, and when it resumes, it cuts out the audio, and no one can explain why. Almost like they don't want this video to get out. The original account even reposted the video and the same part was glitched. And now the entire account is completely gone. So I'm here to explain this as best as I can, and let's hope this video does. Just kidding. So the book is a story about a person named, get this, I.C. Trumpelman, who according to the synopsis, used his power to set up an authoritarian regime in the ghetto. His face appeared on money and stamps. His word was law. He was an alternative con man, a charismatic leader, a buffoon, and a dictator. Strides with extraordinary vigor, his organizational genius astounding, and those who survived his reign couldn't decide whether he was a hero or the betrayer of his people, part savior and part executioner. I see Trumpelman, who according to the official publisher was a man who thrives on the power granted to him. This is almost too exact to be true, but we haven't even scratched the surface of how deep this rabbit hole goes. The book was originally written in 1979, the year that our Donald Trump turned 33. There's that number again. At first it seems like just another one of those crazy online coincidences similar to that one Baron Trump book called Baron Trump's Marvelous Underground Journey, written in 1893 by Ingersoll Lockwood, in which a child of the same name as Donald Trump's real-life son, Baron Trump, lives in a castle and is mentored by a man named Don. 1893, by the way. And now more recently, these mysterious sketches of airships drawn in the late 1800s have also resurfaced, containing the word Trump all over them, and even feature the number 47, Donald Trump being the 47th president of the United States. Or this video from 1987 of Trump talking about going in and taking Iran's oil, exactly what's happening in 2026. Not sure if these are related, but just more evidence of the apparent time-traveling Trumps. But this one right here, King of the Jews, once you look into the author, Leslie Epstein, you realize it is so much more than just that. Leslie was a smart man, a scholar with degrees from Yale, Oxford, and UCLA. Many of his students went on to win Pulitzer Prizes. Oh, and his full name is Leslie Donald Epstein. For real, I really don't make this shit up. Now, in all fairness, Epstein isn't exactly the rarest last name out there, and happens to be one of the oldest Ashkenazi Jewish surnames ever. But like, I don't think anyone could deny that Leslie and Jeff, well, never mind brothers, almost look like they can be twins. Now, Leslie's dad was a man named Philip Epstein, with a PH, not an F, and yeah, straight up looks like both of their biological father. PH Philip had a twin named Julius, both of whom were screenwriters in the early days of Hollywood, and happened to be the main writers of the 1943 hit movie Casablanca. The film is about a man who runs a nightclub, which doubles as a hub where intelligence officers and other high-ranking officials congregate. The owner of the nightclub, named Rick, is on good terms with all attendees, and takes a neutral stance among them, giving him an upper hand among all parties involved, which is just vaguely similar to Jeffrey Epstein, who owned properties and invited the elites to private parties on his island, where he also maintained neutrality that he used to his advantage. Anyway, the movie Casablanca came out during World War II, the film's release coinciding with a meeting of world leaders in Casablanca, Morocco, called the Casablanca Conference, which literally happened the same month the movie came out in January 1943. Because of that, the movie was actually considered wartime propaganda, and the OSS, the early version of the CIA before it became the CIA, was somewhat involved in it. Now,
Hopefully, they will not make me mute that whole clip because of the music. All right, why am I showing you this? Because I think there's something going on. I want you to hear what the First Lady had to say and why I'm so concerned. And I honestly do believe the whispers of the fact that they are not happy together and she might be leaving him is true. The man that brought Melania to America on a special work visa for models. It's supposed to be for artists and musicians and to bring, people with gifts into America, but it was abused by these modeling agencies, bringing in girls from Russia, Romania, the Ukraine, you name it. They brought them here. I believe personally, they trained them up to be spies and call girls. How many of you have seen the new John Wick movie, Ballerina? Yeah, you all understand a little more if you've seen that.
His accomplice. Good afternoon. The lies linking me with the disgraceful Jeffrey Epstein need to end today. The individuals lying about me are devoid of ethical standards.
I had to take a sip of my kosher Coke. Did this woman actually say that people lying about her connections to Jeffrey Epstein are unethical? Do you want to know what really gets me about people like this? Is that they know that people see them almost like gods. They're so powerful. They're so rich. They're so chic. She's so pretty. She's so innocent. There's nothing innocent about that. Wait till I show you some of these photos that connect her to Jeffrey Epstein.
And respect. I do not object to their ignorance, but rather I reject their mean-spirited attempts to defame my reputation.
Sweetie, nobody can defame your reputation. You did it yourself. I have a picture of Melania Trump on a stripper pole with Jeffrey Epstein sitting in a chair behind her.
I never been friends with Epstein.
But you shook your booty for him.
Donald and I were invited to the same parties as Epstein from time to time, since overlapping in social circles is common in New York City and Palm Beach.
Funny. When I used to go to parties and there was a lot of drug addicts there, it was because all the people that were present did drugs. Now that when I go to community get-togethers, it's funny that I never see the drug addicts there because they don't mix with the rest of us. So what she's basically telling you is that everybody that hung around them had a penchant for very young aged girls and boys.
To be clear, I never had a relationship with Epstein or his accomplice, Maxwell.
Define relationship for us, Melania.
My email reply to Maxwell cannot be categorized as anything more than casual correspondence.
If I sent a text to a drug dealer and later they got busted for being a drug dealer, do you know that the police would investigate my text to the drug dealer? Even if it was a casual reply, they would want to know why I was replying to someone that was a known drug dealer.
My polite reply to her email doesn't amount to anything more than a trivial note.
Then a what? A what note? Somebody tell me what she'd have said. Let me put the captions on. Oh, can't do captions. Go figure.
Than a trivial note.
Trivial?
I am not Epstein's victim.
There it is, folks. I am not Epstein's victim.
Epstein did not introduce me to Donald Trump.
Correct. I used to think he had. I was under the impression that Epstein basically sold her to Trump. And I've actually said that, right? Come to find out that it's the guy that's the special envoy for the White House. And I'm going to show you proof of that. Hold on.
I met my husband by chance at a New York City party in 1998. This initial encounter with my husband is documented in detail in my book, Melania.
In my book. See, my book tells you everything that is true.
The first time I crossed paths with Epstein was in the year 2000 at an event Donald and I attended together. At the time, I had never met Epstein and had no knowledge of his criminal undertakings.
I'm sorry, I don't believe that. Again, I've been to a lot of high rolling parties. Actually went to a wedding at the governor's mansion in Louisiana. And as I was there eating beluga caviar with the highest ranking officials in the state of Louisiana at the time and rubbing shoulders with people who were millionaires in the state of Louisiana, the people I was with would lean over and they'd be like, so that person does workman comp claims for the state. And, you know, they make a lot of money on the down low. That person over there got their position because they're brother to the governor. You see that lady over there? It's the most powerful lady in here. She gives money to such and such and such and such. And when she wants something done, it gets done. These people all know who they are. That's why do you go to parties like that, people? It's why you go to parties like that. Look, I live in a little rural parish, one of the poorest in Louisiana. But when we have get togethers, and I know that our sheriff is coming and the mayor of our little seat of power and the DA is going to be there, I go. I know who those people are. They know who I am because I work with all the small farms and the local school. I seeded a school out here. You know what I'm saying? We all know who we are and what we do.
Numerous fake images and statements about Epstein and me have been circulating on social media.
Calculating? She means circulating? Does she mean circulating?
Takings. Numerous fake images and statements about Epstein and me have been circulating on social media.
Calculating on social media? She must mean circulating.
For years now. Be cautious about what you believe.
I'm going to let this play while I cut my AC on. I started sweating. I'm furious.
These images and stories are completely false. I'm not a witness or a named witness in connection with any of Epstein's crimes. My name has never appeared in court documents, depositions, victim statements.
I can't do it. I can't do it. So she's saying, let me find them. Oh, by the way, Trump put this out. World's most powerful reset. But I guess it's okay when, before we voted Trump into office and the World Economic Forum was talking, Carl Schwab, about a great reset, all the Republicans, all the Christians were freaking out. But now it's okay because DJT said it's going to be the most powerful one and people are cheering it on. I told y'all, be careful with Marjorie Taylor Greene. And I'm going to show you. Hold on. I've got to find. So these are all fake. These pictures are all fake. This picture of Melania on a pole with Epstein, that's all fake. There's Jeffrey Epstein. There she is leaning. There she is kissing him. These are all fake, Melania. What a POS.
Amanda Angaro and Paulo Zampolli situation. If you're behind, watch the. Okay, so I have some new information for you guys about the Amanda Angaro and Paulo Zampolli situation.
All right. So this young woman with her face circled in red was actually a good friend of Melania. The man that she had a child with is now the special White House envoy of the United States. That man introduced Melania and Trump together. He also brought this beautiful young girl in the blue dress. Her name is Amanda. He brought her from a foreign country to his modeling agency that he had started with Donald Trump. Just another Trump girl, right? When she was only like 15. Listen to this. Really listen to this. They had this woman, Amanda, arrested by ICE. She has the same visa that Melania had. She took Christmas pictures, Christmas card pictures with Donald Trump and Melania and her man 2 or 3 years in a row. And the Trumps had this woman thrown into ICE and then deported to Brazil without her child because they knew that she was the missing piece to connect Melania, Donald, the special White House envoy, Zampolli, Paulo Zampolli.
If you're behind, watch the playlist that this video is attached to. So as we know, Paulo Zampolli is the former modeling agent who brought Melania to the United States for Donald Trump back in the 90s and has been in business with Donald Trump since the 90s. They did the whole modeling agencies together. They did the whole real estate world together. Paulo's a United Nations diplomat. He was a part of the first Trump administration, and he is very involved in the current administration. Right, okay, we've been talking about this guy since July. We know. As you guys know, I recently made contact with Amanda Angaro, and we are now in communication on a regular basis. We know Amanda Angaro is the mother of Paulo Zampoli's child, who he began grooming at the age of 15 years old. She was a victim of Jeffrey's operation. She was on Jeffrey's plane at just 16 years old. We knew that she was on Jeffrey's plane at 17 years old, per the flight logs that were released by the DOJ in 2021. But since speaking to Amanda, she has confirmed that she was on Jeffrey's plane at the age of 16, earlier than we even realized. Amanda has known John Casablancas since she was 13 years old, and we know Paulo actually grew up with John Casablancas, and John Casablancas is the man who inspired Paulo to become a modeling agent. Amanda was a victim and witness to Jeffrey's operation. She has a lot of information about the inner workings of this operation. She was on Jeffrey's plane with Jean-Luc Brunel. She has a very unique perspective into this entire situation. And as we know and have been reporting on, in June of 2025, Amanda was wrongfully arrested and held in an ICE detention facility for nearly 4 months. After being held for that period of time, she was deported to Brazil without any kind of due process or trial. Amanda has a fantastic team of attorneys who are currently helping her get justice for her wrongful arrest, her wrongful deportation, and the parental kidnapping and alienation of the child that she shares with Paulo. Those are all ongoing proceedings, and on the 21st of this month, Amanda will testify in front of the Supreme Court in New York City. While acknowledging she has years of legal battles ahead of her, we hope that the 21st begins a series of wins for her and her future. With permission from Amanda's legal counsel, she has been given the permission to speak on a wide range of things that have happened to her and are currently happening to her. We can't talk about everything right now, but after some of the upcoming legal proceedings that she has, she will be able to say more. So I'm going to share with you some information that Amanda has given me permission and her legal team have given permission for me to share with you guys. What I'm about to share with you is Amanda's own words, so I'm going to be reading from a screen so I can make sure I say everything correctly. And if you guys want to read this stuff yourself and see receipts and everything like that, you can go over to my Substack. I've already laid it all out and it's published on my page. So I'm going to share this message from Amanda with you guys, and then after that, I'm going to go over a few different names of figures that Amanda has given me. And these are figures who are aware of what's going on within our government and are assisting Paulo in his quest to silence and seek revenge against Amanda. Okay, from Amanda Angaro, 1/18/2026. This is not family drama. This is a criminal operation. I have witnessed many things since I was a teenage girl who became swept up in this nightmare. I have photos to prove the physical abuse I have experienced at the hands of Paulo. I have proof of his longtime substance use issues. I have information and proof of his fraudulent business dealings and millions of dollars worth of insurance fraud that Paulo has committed. I have proof that me and my family have faced harassment, threats, and blackmail from Paulo for years. I have information and proof of government and public officials being bribed by Paulo. I have proof Paulo began trying to date me when I was 15 years old, and it is true that I was on Jeffrey Epstein's plane as a teenager. I was only 16 years old the first time I was put on his plane. I have proof Paulo abandoned his own mother in a nursing home in Italy after stealing her jewelry and other valuable items. If a man can rip away his own mother's dignity without a second thought, you can imagine what Paulo is capable of. I faced a false arrest based on manufactured charges. I was forced to stay in an ICE detention facility for months before I was deported to Brazil, where I have been fighting for justice. My paperwork and history of work for the United Nations did not stop the government from treating me like an animal. For 3 years before I was wrongfully arrested, I supported myself and my son without financial assistance from Paulo. In the years leading up to my arrest, Paulo and I did not have a romantic relationship, following an affair that he had in Washington, D.C. Paulo did call me his wife, and we were together for 19 years, but legally we were never married. During that time, Paulo was only a present father to fit his narrative and to appear to the public as a loving father. I did not keep our son away from him and allowed him to still see his father. I moved to Miami with my son to enter the workforce, really for the first time outside of my 10 years of work for the United Nations. My attempt to be independent and create distance between myself and Paulo enraged him, and everything got worse, especially when I filed for full custody. The court awarding me full custody would mean Paulo would have to pay years of unpaid child support and continue to financially support our son into adulthood. This was not something that fit Paulo's narrative, something he is desperate to control. I was being harassed relentlessly. My family and friends were harassed as well and even followed in some cases. Shortly after, I began working a job at a medical assistant training school that specializes in minimally invasive procedures. I was associated with a med spa in Miami. Many anonymous complaints began to flood in. The man that I was arrested with was my romantic partner at the time and is now my husband. He is an awarded plastic surgeon of 30 years who conducts teaching seminars across the world. 3 months before being arrested and booked in June, police showed up unannounced to our home. Police came into our home and took me and my partner out in handcuffs. We were thrown against the wall outside of our home, and neighbors began to come outside because of the police presence. They were shocked. We were shocked. Neither of us have a criminal record, yet we were handled with extreme force, humiliated, and made a spectacle out of. We were humiliated. We waited for an hour for the police to get a search warrant. They destroyed our home and found nothing. The officers then went to my workplace and were there for hours. They confiscated equipment properly approved, lasers by regulatory agencies, medical documents, and patient records. They did all this searching for evidence of criminal activity that simply did not exist. Then June came and my partner, now husband, and I were arrested. No one else from the training center or spa were arrested. I was picked up by ICE officers and taken to a detention center. No bail was possible. I felt so broken and confused. I remained imprisoned in that ICE detention center in Miami for 3.5 months, while increasingly absurd accusations were piled on and have yet to be proven. One of the charges placed against me included that I was practicing medicine illegally, which is an absurd lie that the state of Florida has yet to provide evidence to my legal team of. Nothing that my husband and I have been arrested for has been proven in court, yet I was deported without trial. I was not given the opportunity to prove that the charges against me were fabricated. My fate was decided before they put the handcuffs on me. When I arrived in Brazil, I began the legal process of fighting for custody of my son, and for a moment I was successful. Giovanni was brought to Brazil briefly after my deportation, per court orders, before Paulo illegally removed him from my care and the country, causing me to file a kidnapping complaint. I am still fighting for my son to be rightfully returned to my custody. So that is what Amanda has to share with you guys, what she has permission to share with you guys right now. If you go over to part 2, we're going to go over some of the names who Amanda has given me as figures in our government who have helped assist Paulo in having Amanda wrongfully deported and her son kidnapped from her.
Again, she was brought here on a visa, and I'm going to show this to you guys. It is a special visa. By the way, this is Trump dressed up like a soldier right before he decided he wasn't going to fight in a war, 1964. All right, here's the video. I'll show you all in a second. Oh, yeah, these are all fake. Remember, Melania said these are all fake. These are all fake, made up photos. Just made up photos. I want to show you guys. All right, so Epstein did not recruit models himself. He financed, enabled, and benefited from people who already controlled access. Paulo Zampolli focused on the visa angle through agencies like ID Models. Young foreign women, often from Eastern Europe and South America, were brought to the U.S. using immigration loopholes, sometimes under misleading pretenses.
Working for Donald Trump. Stay to the end, though, because I've got a clip of this guy they're talking about, and my skin is crawling. July 16th, 2010. Hello, Jeffrey. A great friend of mine rented a huge house in Ibiza, so invited a lot of girls from Russia, all models, because they will be doing the shootings down there for several magazines, with a great scout named Tigraine. He used to scout for Trump, but doesn't work for him anymore. He's coming with 12 girls for first week and 13 girls the second week. He would like to meet you. I just called Jean-Luc to see if he can come too. That would be great. Build this network for MC2. Remember, MC2 was Jeffrey Epstein and Jean-Luc Brunel's modeling agency in Paris, and Jean-Luc Brunel also hung himself in a cell after being arrested for raping 15-year-old girls. Epstein writes back to Daniel Said, Tigraine has the best taste next to you. I'm happy to meet him. He's had a girl named Blank in Paris that he had told so many bad things about me. And because this is redacted, we know that that is a victim's name. I looked up Tigraine, and he is the controversial Armenian CEO of Noah Models. And his whole thing was recruiting very poor girls from Russia.
The girl at 12, when these girls are in these very delicate stages of their life, then you have more power or you have more influence to guide and direct.
It's not really the age, it's how mature they are. Because at the age of 13, she has something that most people rarely have, and that's called dignity. That 13-year-old will never go with a rich man, for money, because she'll understand that, she's much happier with the $100,000 that she earned, or with the $50,000 that she earned, than with the $3 million that she gets from this rich man doing nothing other than, spreading her legs in front of him. A 12-year-old or 13-year-old would never do it. Okay? Now, they're difficult girls. So, to have a good effect of education, we sometimes take these girls to the morgue and we show them these young girls or boys who did drugs and passed away.
So they take these children from countries on these special modeling visas. And the difficult ones they take to the morgue. But, they want them young, right? Because a 12 or 13-year-old girl, she's just not going to spread her legs for money. That's literally what he just said. So this man is still at the White House. His baby mama, Amanda, he had deported to Brazil. And he is the one that introduced Melania to Trump. Look at all his buddies. Look at all his powerful friends. Yet, go back. There's the child he stole. And now he's got all these photos where he's like, I'm doing everything I do for my son. The son you stole from his mother. Zampolli was a frequent visitor of Melania's at the White House during the first term. The TerraMar Project was a self-described environmental nonprofit organization founded in 2012 by Maxwell. It had a sister organization in the UK, which was incorporated in 2013. It announced its closure on July 12, 2019, shortly after New York federal prosecutors arrested Maxwell's longtime partner, Jeffrey Epstein, for sex trafficking. Wow. This is Melania Trump's selfie on New Year's with this man. And who was on, right, the board of trustees for the Kennedy? Oh my gosh. Melania Trump, Dr. Jill Biden, Michelle Obama, Laura Bush, Hillary Rodham Clinton. Members appointed, Pam Bondi. They're all connected, you guys. Look at Pam Bondi in this picture. Here are the Epstein victims. Look at these ladies' faces. Look at her. And people are asking, where's the real Pam Bondi? Which one of these is the real Pam? She was a member of the Delta 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 sorority. How much would I bet she's a Masonic Eastern Star? That's, yeah, what she used to look like. All right, let's keep going. Oh, by the way, here's all the budget cuts, 10% in reduction in spending. So 73 billion, okay? The 73 billion that's being cut from all of these different federal programs, from what I'm hearing, haven't had enough time to really look into it, folks, is going into Trump's pocket. Look at the K-12 program, 8.5 billion, higher education 2.7. No, I don't really care about. National Institutes of Health, a homeless assistance program, Job Corps, low income home energy assistance program, 4 billion. By the way, where I live, and I've actually had to use this program, helps Americans actually cover their electric bill when it gets too high. I don't care about the international organizations to the UN either, other global health programs. They're cutting money to the IRS. NASA got cut. The International Space Station, the refugee resettlement program should be cut off anyway. Unaccompanied alien children should be cut off anyway. But rural business services got cut the most. Well, not the most. It was actually K-12 programs at 82 million. Those programs are needed. All right. Here's what nobody's talking about. Almost 25% of Americans have a job that is provided through some sort of federal funding. All right. K through 12 programs just got cut 8.5 billion. So that means aides, teacher aides for children with disabilities. It means a school counselor. It means a DARE officer or security for the school. Those will be the first that they cut. All right. Janitors gone. All right. How about this? Like, think about how many people work up at your DMV. Now, I know the state pays for that, but federal funding for these programs, when you're talking about rural business centers, so that's going to be extra employees at the USDA to help farmers, right? County agents, all those people are going to lose their jobs because 25% of Americans have a job that is funded through federal dollars. So not only did he cut 10% of money that is used mainly for Americans and American needs to be rerouted towards his Board of Peace nonsense, the most horrific thing is that it's not just going to affect everybody that's already poor, it's going to increase unemployment. So let that sink in, folks.
Completely overlooked that there is a man who is a part of our current administration.
I think I already showed y'all that one. Did I show y'all that one? Hold on, let me go back. Yeah, I did. So, no, you hadn't seen this one yet. You guys have to see this. This little girl did good.
To get suppressed, but I literally do not care because I think it's that important. There is something seriously wrong. And business partner to our sitting president since the 90s. He was the modeling agent who brought Melania to the United States to meet Donald Trump originally, and they would go on to be married. Right around the same time, in the mid to late 90s, both Paulo and Donald Trump would open their own modeling agencies. Both of their modeling agencies would go on to face claims and accusations of R-word, SA, theft of wages, overcrowded apartments where the models would be housed, exploitation, and visa fraud. Paulo is a United Nations Nations diplomat. From 2013 to 2014, he collaborated with Ghislaine and Jeffrey's fake oceanic nonprofit environmental organization, TerraMar, which allowed Jeffrey and Ghislaine to make further connections and gain credibility through working with the United Nations. Through his modeling agency, ID Models, he would go on to represent a Brazilian teenager named Amanda Angaro, and that is the teenager who would appear on Jeffrey's flight logs back in 2002 when she was just 17 years old. Just a few years after Amanda appeared on Jeffrey's flight logs, Paulo would go on to date her and they would have a child together, and she would go on to also become a United Nations ambassador. And they have been together romantically for nearly 20 years, minus a brief moment in 2018 when they did break up. Amanda tried to leave Paulo in 2018 during Trump's first term, but Paulo called in some favors and had her flagged through immigration so that she could not return to her home country with her son. And Paulo also refused to pay her any kind of child support if she were to leave him. After this, they rekindled their relationship despite repeated allegations of infidelity and SA that Paulo has engaged in while in their relationship. Most recently, in June of 2025, just a couple months back, right around the time when the files became a topic of conversation again, Amanda was arrested in Miami alongside a Brazilian doctor, and they were arrested for illegally operating a medical facility, grand theft, organized scheme to defraud, and illegally acquiring prescription medications to give their patients, as they were allegedly offering invasive cosmetic procedures without any kind of licensing. When she was arrested, Amanda was placed on an immigration hold and set to be deported, and that is the last thing that we have heard about Amanda Angaro, the longtime partner of someone who is sitting in this current administration, longtime friends with the president, who appeared on Jeffrey's flight logs back in 2002, is just being deported. And the day after Amanda was taken into custody, Paulo Zampolli posts this photo of himself and Pam Bondi on his social media. No mention of Amanda at all. Amanda is no longer appearing in any of his photos afterwards. Like, since she's been arrested, there's been no photos with her whatsoever. There's been no seeming concern for Amanda at all. He's just been posting like everything's great, normal, happy even. And I'm not saying that Amanda didn't do anything wrong. Obviously, this is the United States. You're innocent until proven guilty. Obviously, she is on the fast track to being deported. And that doesn't make any sense from the standpoint that she is still a United Nations diplomat. She should have a diplomatic passport. She should have diplomatic immunity from arrest and prosecution of a lot of different charges. In a lot of situations, local authorities don't have the authority to disregard diplomatic privileges. It doesn't make any sense how the United States is actively deporting a United Nations diplomat, and it's not being talked about at all in mainstream media, regardless of the fact that she was on Jeffrey's plane at 17 years old.
Do you know why they're not talking about it? Because it connects Melania. So that's what I'm telling you guys. First off, nobody thinks this is the actual Pam Bondi. Everybody thinks this was the real Pam Bondi when she was in college. Now that was her. Now look, that was her. This is supposedly her now. That's not the same person. So here.
There's the well-known Epstein in terms of his trafficking. I mean, there's the well-known scandal, but it seems like also, so like Epstein would lure women with promises of paying their scholarships and offering them modeling jobs. And he didn't, for most of the known victims, he didn't do that. He just used that as a lure and then abused them and discarded them. But there were some women that he did do that for. And then they get married off to very powerful people. And some of them are the women he took to the White House. One of them he basically handed off to Trump. That was his girlfriend before Melania. Her name's Selena Middelfart. She's a Norwegian heiress. Another one was Frances Hardin that he passed off to John Doyce, who is a commodity trader, very tied up in the network I talk about in my book. An oil trader guy who's very, very sus. And then you have someone like Nicole Junkerman. She's seen on the arm of people like Paul Allen. She's reportedly, used to blackmail U.S. senators on Wexner's UK property with Epstein. And she was Elite Models previously. And then another model, Melanie Walker, she basically is now dating a top guy or married to a guy that Andreessen Horowitz, but she was Epstein's science advisor and then Bill Gates' science advisor. But during a time when Bill Gates said he didn't even know who Epstein was. Strange. But it seems like, elite models, there's something weird that was going on there. And that's not to say that every woman that modeled for them had this experience, but there are some that stand out, and it seems to have happened often enough.
Well, it's like rich, powerful guys want hot women.
Yeah, and I should also say that Gerard Marie was involved with the MC2 agency that was Brunel and Epstein and a focus of the sex trafficking case, but he's never been charged.
If it feels like if
the French case is dead in the water, they don't want to go there for some reason. But if Gerard Marie was pimping out young models to people like Khashoggi, that would be why.
It feels like if all of this was released, all the files were released, this would be a complete collapse of the political and financial elite.
Well, okay, if the political and financial elite are, part of this court cartel that is born out of organized crime and intelligence, like maybe they should collapse.
Oh no, and we want it
because do we want to be ruled over them?
No,
and I don't. Yeah, but the problem is they're both parties in the U.S.
Yeah,
they're both parties in every country. In every country. I told you, it didn't matter if it was going to be Trump or if it was going to be Kamala. Can't wait to drop my visa story about how Trump and Epstein exploited the immigration system to import foreign models, some underage, while Trump rails against immigrants and married one on a visa. So they go through this is DHS CIS, right? It's an immigration application. They say, hey, I'm writing on behalf of blank in connection to their 0-1 visa, talking about how they do magic. And it was to get this girl in, right? That's how Epstein did it. When did Melania get her citizenship? She became a naturalized citizen in 2006, born, Watch what it says. Seems like a good day to remind everyone that Trump's ex-wife, Ivana, wasn't an American citizen until 1988. So Don Jr., Ivanka, and Eric were all born to a mother, again, who is not a U.S. citizen. So the O-1 Einstein, that's what they call it, visa system is the number one way to get underage models that were trafficked into the U.S. by people like Donald Trump and Jeffrey Epstein, David Blaine too. So David Blaine, I'm a magician, an illusionist, and an endurance artist. I'm known for my high profile feats, even mentions like George Bush and the Clintons, right? I met so-and-so a few years ago and wants to get her a visa. I wholeheartedly support her visa application. That's how they did it. I wonder how many have Trump's name on it. This was what I was telling you. Happy New Year's 2022. Here is the woman, Amanda, that they sent back to Brazil and arrested. And she is a diplomat for the United Nations. And there she is with Trump and Melania. How did these two, this beautiful woman, and she was once very attractive, with these two old fat dudes? Really? Come on, guys. That's not how the world works, man. This is her, though. I will tear down your corrupt system, even if it's the last thing I do in my life. I will go all the way. I am not afraid. Maybe you should be afraid of what I know, of who you are and who your husband is. They shamed her. They sent her back to a country she hasn't been in since she was 15. They took her child from her. And that pig, Zampolli is raising that young man right under the nose of Donald Trump and Melania Trump. That is why Melania Trump walked to the podium so stoic. I know nothing. Anyone that say I know something is a liar and bad person. I know nothing. I know nothing, Your Honor. I know nothing. I was never call girl. I know nothing. You mean there's underage girls? I knew nothing. I am first lady. I know nothing. I barely read or speak the English. I know nothing. I should make that into a song. As a survivor of a woman whose children were sexually assaulted as children by their biological father, of having the FBI tell me they needed pictures of my children's faces to search on the web for them in compromising pictures. As someone who had her entire life overturned, who watched her children go through such horrific things, but come on, Jesus brought my children out of that, gave them new life, healed, delivered, diminished the bad people. It happens more than you think, folks. This man was called to be a youth pastor. He was grand jury indicted for what he did. The moment my children told me, I never hesitated. I knew how I raised my children. There was not a movie in my house that was rated above a PG. I did not have regular television or cable at the time. I didn't allow it. I knew how I raised my kids. I knew they were with their mommy all the time, unless they were with him. And I knew that my babies weren't lying to me. And I brought the full weight of not just God, but the legal system. That it wasn't cheap. This was 22 years ago, 24 years ago. Almost 60 grand. There's a lot of people that don't have that. I am so sick of people putting their head into the ground just because she walked up to the podium and said it's not true after what I showed you at the beginning of this video doesn't mean it isn't true. Do I think she was a victim? Hell no. I think she was y'all know what I think she was. Don't make me sin. Don't make me overload my mouth today. People, don't make me do it. And then when I look at, pornography, where it came from in America, the sites are all owned by, why? Because sexual exploitation, sexual pain, blood magic, it's all connected to these people. Melania was trying to get out in front of this. I'm telling y'all, coming up, Trump's medical scare when he dipped out for 3 days around Easter and people were like, you don't really know. It was a lie. Okay. You just keep believing that. And folks, can I just give you a warning? Please hear me when I say this. You don't need a self-styled prophet to tell you what is coming. I don't care who they are. Stop listening to these people that say, "Well, I've got a word. Keep your eye on New Jersey. God said there's going to be an earthquake. Yeah, 3 days of darkness. God said it. It's sometime in 2026. Look, I don't need God to tell me something like that. That's not how I meant to say it. They don't need God to tell them that. You can look at what is happening in this country and know the chances of Donald Trump completing 2026 are slim. Okay. The chances that we're going to end up with J.D. Vance and Palantir firmly sitting as president are getting higher every day. But that doesn't mean Trump is just going to get arrested. He's going to dip out and go do his board of peace with all the money he just skimmed off America. Our country is crumbling infrastructure-wise, morality-wise. And what do they want to do? More laws. More laws. You cannot, morality cannot be legal. You can't make someone be a good person. The law never saves you. Baby, you can do all the laws you want, right? I'm not going to eat pork. I'm not going to cut my hair. I'm only going to do Sabbath. And I'm going to be righteous. If you can't see how that spiritual demon is manifesting physically in America right now, you literally are as blind as a bat. We got laws for everything. Why? Because people don't know how to behave. Because it's a flipping heart problem. Do you know when you live by the law, you are judged by the law? So, I mean, look, I have the Holy Spirit. I know when something's wrong. I know that there's no way to have a good lie. That's not in the Bible. Lying nicely or omission so that you don't, quote unquote, hurt someone's feelings is not permissible. It's not permissible. So see, I don't need a lot of laws to tell me what's right and wrong. I have a Bible. And I can feel it when I do things that are wrong. I can feel it. I'm going to keep coming at this hard every single day because I am part of the problem. I created and helped to create the reality of America in 2026 with Melania and Donald Trump at the helm. And to the day the Lord decides enough's enough and it's going to take me home, come on, Jesus. Until then, I'm fighting a good fight. For friends and family that you have that are literally sitting at home telling you that, look, God sets up presidents and kings and he tears them down. Really? So you think George Washington should not have fought in the Revolutionary War against the King of England? He shouldn't have freed the people over here and created America? Right? Because by your own admission with that statement, we can't fight against corrupt government because God set them on high. God's in control. So I guess we just can give America back to England, right? Just to the crown. We should just revert all that. Because shame on those revolutionaries for standing up against overtaxation, right? So you're saying that we should have never fought the Civil War over too much federal power and slavery, right? We should have just left the Africans in chains, and we should have just allowed the federal government to do whatever they wanted. We should have never fought that because God puts them in power. God puts them in power. We should just let it flow. Do you hear yourself? Is it just me? Am I the only person going, where are you getting this crap? I know where, because I just saw it. I saw the, what's his name? InfoWars, where he's talking to the guy and they're like, God's the axe, the sword. And then all of a sudden the UPS guy delivers the miracle sword to them. Let me see if I can find. I've got to show you guys this. I was shocked. I was so shocked. I was like, there is no, I can't. I already took it all down. I was like, there is no way people believe that mess. There's no way people believe that all that just lined up perfect in the middle of his little videoing. They're calling it a miracle. It's just a miracle. God sent that because that's what Trump is, and we should be praying for him. Of course you should. Your Bible literally says, pray for your leaders. Pray for them. Pray for them. It doesn't say allow them to be horrific people and do nothing because God's in control. So that means, this is how I feel about that. If that is your stance, if you feel like God puts them in place and we've got nothing to say about that, if that is really how you feel, if a drunk driver hits you and your family, you better not ask them to be arrested. You better not sue them for damages. God's in control, man. Just take everything that comes at you. Stop being a weak Christian that does not know how to separate the word of God correctly. That's a Zionist church. They're telling you that so that when the Antichrist comes out, all of you bow down and suck toes. Some of us ain't bowing, baby. That's why I said my videos aren't for everyone. I am okay with that. I'm not here to be everybody's bestie. I'm not on your channel. You're on mine. Why? Because you know I'm telling you the truth. That's why it rubs so many people the wrong way. Because I'm not tickling your ears. I'm not telling you what you want. I'm telling you what you know God would say to you. Stop. There is a pedophile, 2 of them, currently occupying the White House. And what are we going to do about it, America? Nothing? Nothing? I'm doing something because I won't stop. I just keep pounding at it every day because more and more people are waking up. You know how I know? Because my channel keeps growing, even though YouTube shadow bans me, unsubscribes people, and people get offended constantly, but then they come back. You know how many people have told me that? I left and came back. You know why they do that? Because once I say it to you, you can't not see it. I know, right? Imagine living in my head. 8 months ago, I was blowing this shofar for this fool. And now every time I hear him, my skin crawls. So imagine being in Sam's head. For real, folks. Do y'all think this was easy for me? I'm not lying to you when I tell you that I really did lose a couple of $1,000s in donations a month from just 2 or 3 people every month. It came like clockwork. So if you do that times 12, I literally lost a full-time job in wages because one day I just woke up and I wouldn't shut up. Then the 2 people that were supposed to be rowing in my boat tried to burn the sucker down. I think they were my handlers. Destroyed my Patreon, right? But come on, Jesus, we rebuilt that sucker and they can't get in it now. Now I've got like legal stuff against them. Like I'm just waiting. But that's what I'm telling you. Do you think this has been easy for me to wake up and realize the lies? If I can do it, you can too. Yes, I'm passionate. Why wouldn't I be? Like, how else are you supposed to live your life? Baby, I'm passionate. When I love so good, people don't want to leave. But when you cross me, that same intensity gets turned your direction. I'm just not a lukewarm person. I'm all in or I am fully out. And I keep hearing Trump trying to brainwash people. CNN, the same people he told us never to believe. Remember all that? CNN says MAGA says I get 100%. Not, not a chance, dude. I have so many people I watch now that were once MAGA that are all like, hell to the hell no, 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 no. If you lost all of us every day, people reach out to me. I can't believe I voted for him, Sam. Baby, I can't either. You cannot kick yourself. You know what you can do? Educate other people. Expose him. Expose him. Expose the darkness, like God said. He said we are not to have anything to do with it. And if there's anybody out there calling themselves a Christian that are still clinging to Trump, they really aren't. At this point, at the beginning of the second administration, maybe, maybe. But if you've made it this first full year plus some, and you look back and you honestly don't see anything wrong with anything that he's done, I'm going to ask you to get right with Jesus. I really am. If you're still supporting him because you think somehow it's going to benefit your pocketbook, again, I really need you to get right with Jesus. Look, guys, I was prospering under Joe Biden and I'm going to prosper under Donald Trump. Trump, my finances are not connected to whomever's in president. That's why I tithe. I tithe and I help people because I understand that, and I say out of debt because I understand that if you're in debt, you're a slave to whomever you owe. The Bible says it. It is clear as day. I sleep like a baby because I know nobody can come take what I've got. I'm not worried about losing my home. We have to get more people there. We can do that together. We can do that. We can do that together. There should be nobody watching me that doesn't have anything to eat. There should be nobody watching me that is doing the righteous thing by caring for grandchildren rather than putting them into the system or taking care of their elderly parents that cannot pay a water bill, folks. I should not be not able to sleep with my husband. That's not okay with God. Therefore, it is not okay with me. But you know what? Sometimes we have to be the change that we want. We really do. We have to stop waiting for someone else to flip and save us. We got to save ourselves. This is the beginning of us learning to have faith in each other and in God because what is coming is going to require it. They're destroying it. Trump just said the other day, it's insolvent. Well, the government did. America's insolvent and all this mess with money. Not only did he put, he signed the paperwork to put his signature on money, but all of it's fixing to be converted over into cryptocurrency. That's a real thing. That is coming. In fact, I told y'all, they said next year you have to pay your taxes with cryptocurrency. They aren't going to take money anymore. But money's fake, just like cryptocurrency is. But they want to swap it so they can steal more of it. And that way it's computerized fully. I can see it coming. And no, I don't think we're as close to the rapture as people want us to think. Not at all. Not at all. So you better start preparing. You really better. I know I am. And I know those people. I see them all the time. God's going to come get me. Well, don't come knock on my door when you're starving. Your lack of faith isn't going to guilt me into feeding you. There are kids around here. I'll be worried about taking care of them babies before I'm worried about taking care of a full grown adult that had every opportunity but wouldn't do it. I don't get guilted into doing things for other people. Guilt comes from Satan, and I rebuke it quite often. You're not. You're not going to guilt me. Oh, poor me. I don't have anything. Well, you better start. Find some dirt somewhere, put some plants in the ground. I don't have anywhere to grow food. Go talk to your local government. Say, hey, there's a park, right? Could you guys put up some fencing, some cheap orange plastic fencing around an area where I could do a small community garden, plant food for people that might need it? Like, be the change that you flippin' need, folks. I love you. I gotta go. Don't forget to get your book, Growing Under a Poison Sky. You do realize I talk to you guys like this because I would talk like this to my own children. I love you. You can do this. I did it. You can. Just like me going through detox. Y'all strengthened me. I have bad days. What do you think that was yesterday? I was like, I mean, some days I'm just like sleeping till 9:30 and I'm like, oh my gosh, what am I doing to myself? I am freeing myself. And you guys gave me strength. I felt like I was all alone. My husband's like, don't put that out there. Do not tell those people your business. And I just felt so led to share that with you guys because I felt like maybe I wasn't the only one. There's so much pain in this world. There's so many people hurting. And we are never allowed to be ourselves. We always have to hide. I don't want to hide all my life. This is me. I don't have to be anyone else. I don't want to be anyone. I love you guys. Have a blessed and amazing day. Thank you for your time.